Welcome, welcome. In today's episode, we are diving into the power of our language, the power of words. We're going to understand how our words shape our reality, how the shift in the words that we use changes the vision, the way we perceive the world, and that changes the trajectory of our lives. So if you want to change your reality, recreate the story, let's start with recreating our language and dialogue. That being said, let's begin. In a world where we often find ourselves waiting for someone to come and save us, it's time to embrace one powerful truth. I hate to tell you this, but no one is coming. The answer is you. Welcome to the podcast that empowers you to take charge of your life and unleash your true potential. I'm your host, Ofri Fuchs, and I'm thrilled to embark on this transformative journey with you. So, if you're ready to embark on a journey full of self-discovery, growth, and actually take responsibility for your life, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you're here. Now let's rock and roll. Welcome, welcome to today's episode of No One Is Coming, The Answer Is You. I'm your host, Ofri Fuchs, and today we're continuing our journey of personal development and reclaiming your power. And we are going to dive into the power of language, our words, and how these shape our reality, our perceived reality, and our actual reality. So we're going to dive in to understand the foundation from which we come from. Language is the first and fundamental thing that we use to connect. We use our body language when we're infants, but then we start using our words to shape our feelings, what we desire, and how we perceive the world. So language is more than just words. It is a lens. It's a lens through which we choose to see, and I specifically mention the word choose to see because it's an option. Choose to see and choose to perceive the world. How we talk to other people, and especially how we talk to ourselves, that can either uplift us or bring us down. What we hear can either uplift us or bring us down. Have you ever noticed how a simple shift in a word that you say can completely change your outside circumstances? So we're going to go back to this example several times perhaps today, but a simple shift between I can and I can't is a whole different meaning to whatever it is that you're facing, correct? Let's take a moment and reflect. Take a moment for yourself and reflect on the words that you use daily. How often do you use phrases like I can't? How often do you have, let me just first and foremost emphasize this. Using a word doesn't have to be verbal. It can be also in your head. The self-talk is sometimes, mostly, louder than the words that we actually say to the outside world, that we verbally express outside. So when I say, do you ever use the phrase, I can't, I'm not good enough, I'll never be able to. In your head, that is like a megaphone. It's so loud and so clear that it seems like it's silent because we can't hear it. But that is actually a weight, a burden that you carry, and that affects everything that you do. What you say verbally to the outside world and what you will do in the outside world and what you do outside will reflect on your outcomes, right? On your results. And I want to share a little story that is actually what brought this, the choosing of this episode is actually a talk that I had with someone that I perceive as like a mentor, a friend, a mentor, a conversation that I had yesterday. And we were discussing a challenge that I'm personally facing. It's a decision that I want to make that will impact my life, my family's life, my extended family's life, my financial situation. It's going to have a great, massive impact on what I do and how my life will continue from this point forward. And when I was talking about it, I mentioned to him how nervous I am and how I fear that it's not going to work out the way I planned. Like, this is such a massive decision that I'm going to take. It's going to come out poorly, or I'm going to be stressed about it, or I'm going to regret it. These are fears that we have whenever we face a major challenge in our life, correct? We automatically fear that we're going to fail in it, that it's not going to work out the way we planned, that we're not going to be good enough. And this mentor, coach, friend of mine said to me, well, what do you think will happen if you take this journey, take this path, and you have this inner talk, self-talk of, I don't think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to work out the way I imagine it to be. I don't think, or I do think that it's going to come out poorly. I think it's going to be stressful. I think I'm going to regret it. If this is the position where I'm coming from, if this is the being that I'm having towards a situation, then the being that I'm having is a direct effect, has a direct effect on the words that I'll be choosing. So obviously, that is going to be the outcome that I'll be facing, because our mind uses these words, uses these thoughts as a guideline. What it is that you're facing, what it is that you're looking for something to prove to you that this is a poor experience, that you failed in it, that you're not good enough. I'll show you that. I can prove that to you. And this is just a proof to you whenever you, for instance, when a woman wants to get pregnant, she just has this inner dialogue about getting pregnant. All of a sudden she sees this in reality. When you want to purchase a new car, all of a sudden you see these cars just pop up out of nowhere. This has to do with the law of attraction. This has to do with resonance, but it also has to do with your words and what you focus on. What you focus on grows. What you focus on will prove itself, show itself, come back and emerge in reality. So I want to go back to, so this negative self-talk that I had was just a reminder, and I know this. It doesn't matter how much you know it. Sometimes we fall back into our negative self-talk. And our negative self-talk, or any negative talk, is, I want you to imagine it like a dark cloud. It's a dark cloud that follows us around. It's always there. And the problem is with this darkness is that, like a light switch, it's dimming. It's dimming our potential. It's lowering the potential for our personal achievements and accomplishments. And it's also dimming our potential to experience life in the fullest form. It's dampening our spirit. So wouldn't you like to break free from this cycle? Wouldn't you like to break free from this script that we wrote where things are negative, when you are powerless, when you are hopeless, when there's no bright future in sight? What if you can change that by just simply changing your language and empowering, like nurturing the language that you use, the words that you use and choose to use? So this is what I want to gift you. I want to gift you some ideas, some techniques that might help you on this path and journey. And don't be harsh on yourself if you fail, because we have such a habit. Our primitive mind is always warning us for what could go wrong. And it's okay. That's its job. We love it for it. But we still want to say, hey, primitive mind, it's okay. I got this. I know what you're doing, but I still want to break free and see life and see my potential in its fullest form. So let's talk about some techniques. One of the powerful techniques that I love is called cognitive restructuring. It's very basic, right? If you have a negative thought, the first thing that we have to do is identify it. We have to look and observe and see, oh, the reason I'm feeling this way is because I'm having a negative thought. So our emotions are like a guideline. Okay, what it is that I'm thinking that is creating this sadness, this depression, this anxiousness, this anger, this resentment, any negative emotion that you're experiencing. So identify the negative thought. It could be a single one or a thought pattern that we have. And then we have to replace it with some positive belief systems, affirmations, reframing. So for example, instead of saying, let's go back to the I can't do this, I am growing and learning. I'm teaching myself, I'm expanding in my experiences. It sounds like a subtle shift, but your whole energy and the way you approach the situation will completely shift by this small tweak that we're doing to our language. So instead of saying, I can't do this, I am learning how to do this. I am expanding my experiences. I am committing to failing so that I can improve. Committing to failing. Isn't that amazing to think of? What if I were committing to failing? That's my purpose. My purpose is not to succeed. My purpose is to fail so that I can get dirty, experience, experiment, and grow from it. So think of that. Think of shifting the words that you use so that they can affirm a better thought pattern. Let's take another example. This will never work out, right? This will never work out. I know people, I have clients that are on a diet. They want to lose weight. It'll never happen. This is just me. This is my hormones, my genes, my body structure. I'm a big bone person. This is my habits. This is my dad, my mom, the way I grew up, all that. This will never work out. I will never lose the weight. So obviously, if you come from a position where you think I will never lose the weight, I will never stop smoking, I can't, or this will never happen, what do you think will happen? Do you think it will ever happen? Of course it's not going to happen. So what can be useful? What could shift you? What can create the transition? What if you, instead of saying, this will never happen, I will never lose the weight, what if you say to yourself, I celebrate the smallest success. I celebrate the smallest success. So that means that every ounce you lose is a success. You don't have to lose the whole weight. You celebrate the 1 gram, the 1 pound. It's huge. So you have these moments where you can see the path as tiny, and you can create that. You can create tiny fragments of steps that you take. So you don't have to look at the whole goal. It doesn't matter. Just look small and succeed small. That's one way. Another strategy is to reframe the challenge as an opportunity. It kind of sounds the same, right? Instead of a challenge, it's an opportunity for growth, right? Instead of being difficult, it's a challenge. So instead of seeing a setback as a failure, if something didn't work out, what if it's a stepping stone? What if it's just another layer for your path to success? I remember when I was in a screening of Dreamgirls, the movie. We had this, it was a big fancy screening in Hollywood, and I got this brochure, right? They gave it like a musical in Broadway. And we got this brochure about all the cast members, all the actresses. And I remember, aside from Beyonce, who was amazing, I remember that I saw all these actresses that I've never heard about, and they were phenomenal. And I remember thinking to myself, I was an actress at the time, and I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I would love this, because we knew it was going to be a huge hit. It was amazing, that movie. And I remember thinking to myself, I would love this overnight success. And in the screening, while opening the brochure, I remember saying to myself, it can't be an overnight success. There is no overnight success. There is no 0 to 100. Every single person that you see having a before and after image, having I used to be dirt poor, now I'm a millionaire, had the stepping stones along the way. So I opened the brochure and I had to look at their credentials and what they had to do to get to that moment where they got the dream job of dream girls in the movie. And they all worked so hard. They worked so hard to get to that shining moment where me as an audience, I saw them for the first time and I thought, wow, this is an overnight success. So just remind yourself that every path you take has stepping stones and layers of accomplishments and achievements, and congratulate yourself for going through them. And don't put yourself down for not going from 0 to 100, because that never, ever, 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 ever happens. So stop being your harshest critic. We talked about reframing your opportunities for growth and not seeing setbacks as failures, and seeing obstacles as a chance to learn, to adapt, and to become stronger. But what if you added to that ingredient, because that is very much a mindset, right? You take a negative thought and you frame it. You take a negative situation like a failure, a setback, and you reframe it. So these are decisions. But for those to occur, for those to be, for you to be able to create those, you have to add a level of compassion, self-compassion. So we know that we are often our harshest critics. And in order for us to create anything, we have to create a cloud. I call this the cloud. The cloud, the cloud in the sky where you can just lay on and be caressed and surrender to it. Imagine how much lighter you can feel, and how much lighter your burdens and your needs for accomplishment can feel if we just spoke to ourselves in a kinder and more understanding way. Self-kindness, self-compassion, all these are ways, forms, emotions that are mandatory. We have to have them in order for us to be able to recreate the language and recreate our inner dialogue. So I want to encourage you to commit to yourself, to be mindful of the words that you bring out into the world. And I want you to also commit to, another mentor of mine uses the phrase negativity diet. To rid yourself from the negative phrases that you use and the words that you use, not only towards yourself, but to the world. Okay? There's so much negativity in the world that we absorb from social media, from the news, from other people. Reality is harsh, okay? But reality is also beautiful. In every darkness, there is light. The polarizing, the duality of life exists in all forms, in all situations. Choose what you focus on. If you want to uplift yourself, if you want to uplift your career, if you want to uplift your family, if you want to uplift your life, you have to create energy. And for energy to be positive and productive, you have to keep your mindset pure. You have to keep your heart pure. You have to keep your language pure. And for that to happen, you have to rid and lose the negative pulling effect, because negativity pulls you in. So if you're surrounded by people that are negative, and by negative, they could just be, pardon my French, bitching about what goes on in the world. They can just be talking about the news all the time. They could just be hopeless about, the financial future, whatever their career is, like, oh, there's no money in this, there's no success in this. Try to limit your exposure to these people. Try to limit your exposure to the news, to social media. My social media is all empowering stuff. My feed is all like inspirational, inspiring stuff. And if something like comes up in between the cracks and I see something very negative from the news, I stop it. I immediately stop that video. I change the channel. I don't want to be exposed to that. I don't want that in my head. I don't want that in my mind. That will affect my being. That will affect my language. That would affect my ability to help other people. So we have to be conscious of what we absorb. We have to be conscious of what we put out in the world. It's our responsibility to understand the power that we have by using the power of language. And I'm reminding you, no one is coming. The answer is you. You are the one that needs to choose to be resilient, courageous, so that you can create and impact your boundless potential to be in its fullest form. So, I want to conclude by giving you small bits of tools that I go back to often that can help you keep that positive state of being so that you can keep your language clean and positive and impactful. So we had the first tools that I mentioned was positive affirmations. If you have a negative thought, recreate it with a positive affirmation. Affirming yourself by positive statements, if you can, do it first thing in the morning so you can start your day by empowering yourself and your being. The second thing is journaling. A lot of times, journaling is a tool just to get clarity. There's so much noise in our head, and if we journal, then the mind is like saying, I want to focus on one thought. This is the thought. It has to get the mind, the hand, the eye coordination. They have to be aligned so with that we can create a single thought or phrase. And if you choose to journal your thoughts and emotions, then if you notice a negative self-talk, you can immediately delete, scratch it off, and replace it, challenge it, and replace it with a new thought. That's number 2. The third thing is mindful practices. It could be just settling down, clearing the noise. It could be a meditation. Just engage in any mindful exercise. It could be deep breathing that we practiced in previous episodes, and just to become aware of your thoughts and where are your emotions and where is your being at the moment. All right? And lastly, I'm going back to the last thing I talked about is surround yourself with positivity, empowering thoughts, people, circumstances, beauty, pets, children. It's all uplifting people, situations, circumstances that can encourage you. Go back to the purity of nature if you're ever in doubt about the beauty and the potential of you and the world. So just remember, every word that you speak, every phrase that comes out of your mouth has the power to shape your reality. If we consciously choose to empower our language, then we can transform our lives and the lives of people around us and perhaps even the world. So I thank you for watching, for tuning in wherever you may be. I bless you with a beautiful, empowering life, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.